Hey YouTube, this is Dalmog. I'm in my hotel room right now. I don't have any like actual recording equipment. I'm just using the webcam on my laptop here. But still at the hotel in New Jersey. Um, Yesterday I played in the Virtual Fighter tournament at Summer Jam, and I did pretty well. I did better than I expected to. I ended up getting second place at the Summer Jam Virtual Fighter tournament. It was awesome. Uh, I absolutely loved the experience of playing offline Virtual Fighter, getting to meet the players that play this game. Um, it was great. I would definitely do it again as soon as I can because nothing beats offline VF. The the online experience, as fun as it can be at its best, it doesn't it doesn't even touch the offline experience. But yeah, I ended up meeting a lot of good people. Played some good games of Virtual Fighter and ended up winning, like getting second place at the Summer Jam event. First place, as you probably know by now, is Chief Flash, a legend in Virtual Fighter for North America, and I think he mentioned that this was his first major tournament win since 2009. Um, so obviously, he's still got it, and he was super nice, super friendly. Everybody I met this weekend was incredible. So like when I got here on Friday night to get situated in my hotel room, they were running casuals. So another guy who lives in Pennsylvania, Kilgore the Fish. I'm not gonna say anybody's real names out here, but Kilgore the Fish brought PS4 over with a monitor, and we got some casual sets in, and that was pretty good. I think I ended up playing him for like 20 games or something like that. Then I played against Maestro, another Virtual Fighter player. He was pretty cool. I played against him for a few games. Then I played against Craig Tomahawk for another few games, another Virtual Fighter player. Um, they were both very nice to me, very friendly, and they were both in the tournament. So we're gonna fast forward to the Saturday. Um, Check-in was pretty busy. They were getting things set up, and it took them a while to get some things going. So I think it was supposed to open at 8 o'clock for registration and check-in. I pre-registered, so I just had to check in and get my wristband. Um, they were still setting things up, so they pushed it back to like 8:50 instead of like 8 o'clock, and then instead of opening the ballroom at 10 o'clock, they opened it at 10:30. But I got my wristband. I left for a bit to get something to eat, like something really quick to eat. Um, I went back in, played some casual sets. There were when I went in there now. So for the Friday night, the casual, there was like a little casual room with some stations set up, like table space and all that. But you had to basically bring your own station, like your own console, and set it up yourself. There was nobody. There was one console set up for Virtual Fighter, but there was there were people playing on it. One of them was Emery Reigns, another popular streamer who is playing Virtual Fighter, Dead or Alive, and a few other games, if I recall correctly. But those are like the two big ones that he plays. I think he also plays Tekken. He was at the event, but I was a little too shy to introduce myself to him, and he was playing games. I didn't want to interrupt him while he was playing games, so I didn't want to do that. But if you do watch this Emery Range, I did see you playing some Virtual Fighter. It was pretty cool to see you in person, and sorry I didn't introduce myself. I'm still pretty shy, but uh, when Kilgore the Fish reached out to me on the Discord we're both in, he asked if he should bring his console. I said, yeah, you can bring it. And set it up. There's table space on one of the corner tables, so he brought it. We played some games, with Maestro and Craig Tomahawk. Now we go back to the Saturday. So when I go back into that room, it's not like a bring your own thing. They had consoles set up specifically for Virtual Fighter. So that was pretty cool. There were 8 different stations for Virtual Fighter, and that kind of surprised me. I think Harpenier told me that morning, and I just didn't think they'd be set up. I thought he was like bringing them with somebody, but they were set up when I went in there. That was pretty cool. So right off the bat, I saw Virtual Kazama, and there was another player that I never met before. I haven't introduced myself to them, but they were playing each other. Um, I recognized it was Virtual Kazama, even through his mask. I could hear him shouting at the TV, but it was, he's very cool. He's awesome, very friendly, really good guy to play against and talk with. Um, but I he we knew we knew each other a little bit. But he was playing games, so I didn't interrupt him. So I set up on one of the empty consoles just to play some training a little bit. And then I hear a familiar voice, and it's Harpooneer. Just he's like, "Oh, we got some Leon up over here. We got some Leon action." And that was cool, getting to meet him for the first time, because he ran a lot of tournaments for Hot Dogs and Sake Club, and the next level tournaments online, like the tournament series that's every 2 weeks on Thursdays. That was cool. It was cool to meet him finally in person. I also got to meet Fight Club Hubs, who, aside from running the online tournaments as well, like the bi-weeklies on Sundays, he also ran this tournament for Summer Jam, and that was pretty cool. Harpooneer and others helped him out. So like, it was good to get sort of the butterflies out of my stomach in meeting those guys, because they've been very influential for me to like play in these online events and get acclimated to everybody else that plays the game. Because before like 2019, I never did anything competitively. I never went to any offline events. Just nothing near me, and like it didn't make sense for me to travel out there. Um, for a number of reasons, I was still just getting back into the game. Like, I took a break from Virtual Fighter for like 4 or 5 years after college, something like that. Got back into it in 2019, and this was my first offline event, as I've said. So it was pretty cool to meet a lot of the people there that I've been playing online with, especially like Harpooneer and Fight Club Hubs and Virtual Kazama. All three of them are awesome. And then I'm playing against Harpooneer. He was playing his hitbox. He has like a junk food arcade mini box, or whatever it's called. It's the really tiny ones that are like that big. Anybody who follows junk food arcades, they know exactly what that is, and it's really neat. He had it in like a little fanny pack, or like a little shoulder bag, almost, that was like kind of across his body, and it's like it's so tiny. It's so tiny. You could just like flick it around with your fingers. You could just do whatever you want with it. Um, it was pretty cool to just see that in person, because I don't have one of them. But it was, other than that, like, I was playing some games against him. He was kicking my ass for a good amount of the time, and like, we in our casual sets, we were like pretty evenly split. Like, he won about just as many games as I did. But then, like, near the end of that, before he was gonna go to his bathroom break, I got a tap on my shoulder, and I'm like, "Oh," I'm like, "Who was that?" And I hear the voice, and it's Chief Flash. Chief Flash showed up, joined the tournament that day, I think, and it was really cool to see him, because he's, again, one of the best virtual fighter players in North America. Um, Sorry if I ramble, by the way, because I don't really have a script. I just want to speak from my experience here and just kind of rattle off what I remember from that event. But he said hi. He introduced himself to me. That was really cool of him. Very friendly dude. So real, like, just really really friendly. I was pretty happy to meet him, because he's, again, one of the best virtual fighter players in North America. Um, the best Wolf player for sure. Um, Very strong player, very very humble, very friendly. It was just a very pleasant experience to meet him as well. So I played some. I played with Harpooneer for a bit. Then then when he jumped off to take a break, I played a little bit with Virtual Kazama, and we were both talking about how much better it is playing offline with somebody. Like I played him online, and I think I got a lot of good luck against him when I played online because it seemed like there were things that I was getting away with Leon that I didn't get away with in my offline sets with like Harpooneer and Kilgore the Fish and everyone else. Um, so I learned that pretty quickly that I have to be more careful with what I do, and uh, Virtual Kazama was hitting me with stuff he's never hit me with before. It was pretty cool, honestly. It was very good to see that because it shows me that like this we were both hungry for offline play. It this is something we both needed, and it's good that it finally happened in a venue like this. So we waited for everybody else. They were doing roll call for the pools. I was in pool A2, I think. There was like A1 and A2, so there were like 37 players, and they started this off with like uh, a little speech. It was Hubs and Harpooneer doing a little speech for everybody, saying how excited they were that offline VF was back and that the community was starting to come out for these events again. And it's huge. It's huge for the Virtual Fighter community, and it's huge for the fighting game community in general. Because a game like Virtual Fighter is it's a niche game, and it's often called the dead game in like fighting game community circles. So to have a turnout like that, even though it's not like a Tekken turnout, it was never going to be a Tekken turnout. Tekken had like, I think they're doing the top 8 today. Like all day yesterday, they were doing pools and top 32, because they had almost 200 players in that tournament. So VF was never going to draw that, especially this year since we basically just got Ultimate Showdown with no fanfare, like no advertisement last year. There was a teaser last year, but we didn't know what it was. We didn't know it was a brand new game. Technically, it's not a brand new game. It's Final Showdown's engine, but it's with a new paint job on the next gen console, well, current gen PS4. But before I ramble a little too much, it was never going to get Tekken numbers, but 37 players for a game that's been out since June, that's not bad, especially for like Virtual Fighter. Virtual Fighter has this like intimidation factor to some people that it's like this really deep and challenging game, but it's actually a very simple game to learn. It's a very simple game to learn. It just has a lot of layers of depth beyond that, and that's where a lot of the skill comes in. But anyway, Hubs and Harpooneer were addressing everybody, saying it was exciting that everybody came out to play Virtual Fighter. We are gonna have some fun. So we had a bit of a round of applause for ourselves, and I was ready. I was excited to play some Virtual Fighter offline. Now, when I saw the brackets before Chief Flash joined in, I was liking my chances. I had a goal of getting to top 8. That was my goal before playing in this event. So I wanted to make it to top 8 because there were a lot of names I didn't recognize, and not that I thought that like they were gonna be gimmies, because none of them were gimmies. Like uh, I just didn't recognize the names, and the names I did recognize are names that I know have been playing Virtual Fighter for a long time, and I know that they've been grinding out on this game as well. So when I saw a lot of names that I didn't recognize, I figured it was a lot of players who were looking to play something that wasn't what they were actually there to play at Summer Jam, because there were a lot of events. There was Tekken, Soul Calibur 6, there was Dead or Alive 6, Guilty Gear, Street Fighter 5, Windjammers. There was a Windjammers tournament that was pretty cool to watch. Um, so when I saw a lot of those names, and a good number of those players were sponsored players too, like they were sponsored by esports clubs and all that. So I thought this might have just been like a thing for them to pass the time. I mean, not that they never played it. I'm sure they have. A lot of them looked like they knew what they were like doing. They looked like seasoned veteran VF players. But Yeah, it's just a lot of names I didn't recognize online. So when I saw like the few names that I did recognize, they're players that I know are good, and I know that they have had a lot of experience with Virtual Fighter. So when I saw those names, I was like, well, okay, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun. I'm sure I could beat one or two of them at the moment, but if I can, then I should make it to top eight. Um, that was my goal for this whole thing, was to make top eight. Because this is my first major offline Virtual Fighter tournament. My first game was against a guy called RTS Rune, who he played Lei Fei against me, and I could tell, he wasn't like tech rolling, so I could tell this wasn't like, he probably hasn't played VF in a while, and that's no offense to him, but when he played me against Lei Fei, I ended up I basically just pounced on him every time I knocked him down, and he wasn't tech rolling, so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna keep pouncing on him. But very very nice guy, very friendly, and it was good to play against him. 'Cause, I think he realized he had better luck with Taka, because I saw him playing Taka in the loser brackets later on, and he was doing really well with Taka, from what I saw. So I'm wondering if part of that was also a character choice for him. I think he might have used to use Lei Fei, and he picked Lei Fei, but when he was using Taka, he was doing really well. So if he used Taka, he probably would have had better luck against me. But I'm somewhat familiar with the Taka matchup, so it probably would have been more of a challenge. But at the time, I think he felt more comfortable with Lei Fei. But I ended up beating him. Then I move on to face B-Boy Dragon, who is an Eileen player. Before our match, I saw him like practicing some Eileen situations and Eileen combos, and it was cool to see like that he knew some tricks with Eileen. Um, that one was a tough match, because Eileen players are always interesting. I don't see too many of them online. I know the ones that I know about are very strong, like Mold Monkey and Tricky. So they're both very strong players with Eileen. But every other time I run into Eileen, it's an unpredictable situation, because they everyone seems to play Eileen differently, which is it's good. It's good that everyone seems to play her differently, because she's a very unique character. She has a lot of options with her strings. But I ended up beating him, and then I think a lot of that was he probably didn't have a ton of knowledge of Leon. Um, Honestly, I think there was only one other Leon player in the tournament, and I just caught glimpses of him, and he ended up losing to Obscure, I think, who ended up making the top eight. So good for Obscure for that. Um, Obscure also played in the Tekken tournament. I'm not sure how far he got in Tekken, but I heard he was in Tekken as well. So good for him for making top eight in Virtual Fighter. But after B-Boy Dragon, I ran into the eventual winner, Chief Flash. And of course, Chief Flash, super strong Wolf player. Um, we were talking about how um, he noticed on the station that they were recording gameplay. There was one of the stations in our pool that had recording capabilities. They had a laptop hooked up to it, and they were recording matches. Excuse me. Um, there was another station like that on the other pool table, but I didn't play any games on that one. But he mentioned how, like, at round start, some of his inputs would be dropped, and I noticed that too in my games. I'm thinking that might have just been a delay issue with the capture card and the monitor setup, but I didn't really think anything of it. I just kind of kept playing, but I did notice there was a little bit of latency at the round start, and then I think after that, once we feel that latency, we get used to it instinctively, because we've all been playing online, so we know exactly what it's like to have a little bit of latency like that. But other than that, it was totally smooth experience. Anyway, Chief Flash destroyed me. He sent me to losers in pretty convincing fashion. I think I only took one round off of him in our first matchup. Uh, he ended up sending me to losers. Now, in this game, whoever won would have automatically been in the top eight, just because of the way the brackets were set up. So now I'm in losers, so I have to play another game to get it in the top eight. I ended up playing against Big Dame 31, I think. Big Dame, I think is his name, and he's also a very friendly guy. But he plays a lot of other games, and he was playing with Pi, and I saw him beat a Sarah player. I think it was Virgo, the guy who actually supplied a lot of the consoles for that event. So thank you, Virgo. Thank you for all that, for bringing those setups. That was a huge help, and it was really cool to have that many setups for Virtual Fighter. So thank you again for everything you've done for that event, because that was a big reason we were able to have an event like that. But he was playing Sarah, and I think Big Dame beat him with Pi in like 3 games. And sorry, there was a fly here. But I ended up playing against Big Dame, and he sees that I'm picking Leon, and I'm like, oh, good luck, good luck. He's like, you too. I know I struggle with Leon. Like he's a really challenging character. I don't like him, and I'm like, well, that's good because I don't like Pi either. I I don't like Pi too much either. She's pretty tricky. Um, I was lucky enough to be able to space him out, uh, and I wasn't pushing buttons too much against her low high combination with her like kicks, like 2 KK I think it is. I'm not sure, but usually I have trouble with that because if the first hit's a counter hit or recovery hit, I think the second hit is guaranteed. But I was able to even like I was able to just not push buttons. So if he did hit me with the first hit and it was a normal hit, I could just duck low and then I would just duck the second hit and basically hit him. So I was lucky enough not to push buttons at those moments. He was getting some throws against me, and that's something I got to work on, especially against Chief Flash, who wants to throw you a lot because it's Wolf. It's Wolf. Wolf wants to throw you. I had a lot of trouble stopping those throws, but I did space myself out enough against Big Dame to uh, wait for him to make some sort of mistake, and then I just go in and wallop him with Leon. So I ended up beating him. Then I think he went to play on several of his other tournaments because again he plays a lot of different games. I think he played Dead or Alive. I think he might have also played Guilty Gear, but he's a sponsored player just like B-Boy Dragon, and very strong in other games as well. So it was pretty cool to beat somebody like that. I'm not a sponsored player. Virtua Fighter is basically the only game I play right now. I play Tekken a little bit, but I haven't played it in months, and I don't have much interest in Tekken anymore. But it was cool. Now I made the top 8, so I achieved my goal, basically. I was very happy with that. I didn't know who I was going to play in the first round because they were doing the brackets by hand, and that's fine. They updated all of it in Smash.gg during the top 8. My throat's a little dry, sorry. But in the top 8 losers, I ended up playing against Griffy Bones, who is he's a pretty good VF player right now. He just picked Virtual Fighter up, and I think he just started playing it this year, if I'm not mistaken. At least of course Ultimate Showdown because it came out this year, but Virtual Fighter in general, I think this is his first time he's actually playing it. Good for him for making the top 8. He's a Jackie player. He's got some pretty good setups with Jackie. He seems like he's very well versed in how to play like 3D fighting games. And if you follow his Twitter, which is a great experience in my opinion, he shares a lot of content about other fighting games, especially like really obscure, niche, and like dead fighting games. He's done a lot of content with like 3DO and the CDI fighting games, like those wacky ones that are terribly broken and just hilarious to look at. They're hilarious in like they're also offensive. They also have very offensive content in them, but he shares a lot of fun clips from games like that and like actual fighting games that are like esteemed and you know have high praise in the fighting game community. But yeah, definitely check him out because he shares a lot of cool videos about different fighting games. He's got a ton of variety with that. Anyway, I played against his Jackie, and my goal was to basically watch out for his string pressure and keep him at bay with my lows and my weird little setups with Leon. And it ended up paying off, I think, mainly because he probably didn't have too much Leon experience besides me. He's played me online before. And I think that really helped me in that matchup. But yeah, he took several rounds off of me, but I ended up winning in the end, and that was good. So my next matchup was against Fight Club Hubs, the guy running the tournament, and I don't know what happened. I don't know why, but I was just on fire in both of our games. I was like ringing him out. I was just comboing his Jeffrey. Like, I'm not sure what happened. I don't know why I found that second gear. I'm not gonna question it, but by the time it was over, he was just like, oh, you really came to play, didn't you? And I was like, yeah, I did, I guess. So it was cool because I thought, you know, he's beaten me a lot in tournaments in the past, like especially when I got back into Virtual Fighter. Like he would just kind of ragdoll me. For whatever reason, I did really well against him tonight. So that was good. Or yesterday, I guess. I did really well. So then I play another Jeffrey, of course. It's Harpooner. And similarly, I don't know why, but I found another gear against him, and I just kicked ass. I really, I think I was trying to. Now I've been working a lot of setups with. Now when they upload the video of this, they recorded their entire top 8 games. So when I go over the tape, I'll show you what I mean. But there was stuff I was working on before that tournament that I wanted to implement more in my game. Mostly the use of his full crouch 6 P plus K to keep space and then make them think about what I can do next. Because he's been used to my setups and he's been punishing him really well, waiting for me to do something, and then he just does his thing and takes over. But in this one, in our tournament match, I just didn't allow him to do that. I basically just threw stuff out at him that I'd been working on a little bit, but stuff that I never really tried in a tournament game, especially against him. And it worked. And he even commented, like, when there were things that you were doing that I just had no idea how to respond to them. And for me, that was good because that shows that what I've been working on was actually working. But I'm really happy I got to play him. I'm very surprised at how well I did against him, but I will absolutely take those. And then my last match in the losers was against Hoodless, who's a DOA player, very strong. I think he ended up winning the DOA as well. He won the DOA side event. He ended up finishing 3rd place in this one, which is awesome. Again, he's pretty new to VF. He's still learning the game, but he's very strong fundamentally. A lot of that probably is because of his experience with DOA, because DOA does have similarities to Virtual Fighter, and he has very strong fundamentals with his Virtual Fighter play. So it was cool to see him put that on display. I think I ended up winning that one because of experience, because I was hitting him with things, like he was doing things with Brad that I was like, okay, I know I can do this against it, I can do this against that, and whatever. So I ended up beating him in the loser finals. Still awesome. It's awesome, like, I'll talk about the other players too, but it's awesome how far Hoodless came in this tournament, because this was pretty good. This was a good coming out party for a lot of Virtual Fighter players. Then the grand finals. I'm in the grand finals. This is way farther than I expected to go. Honestly, I was hoping top 8, but I didn't know if I would get to grand finals. But here I am in grand finals against Chief Flash, and he did say something to me before then. He was like, let's just go out there and have fun, like let's just have some fun here. It's he told me like, I'm glad you made it to grand finals because this is going to be exciting. So I just tell him before he sits down for his games. I was just like, let's put on a show, let's put on a show. Let's entertain some people. So he wins the first two like clean as a whistle. I don't think I even did much damage to him. I didn't take any of those rounds in the first two games. Third game, I ended up doing some tricks, doing some Leon tricks, catching him in some of his strings, and just putting my game on, and basically turning the tide a little bit. I win though. I win that third game. I win that third game. Fourth game, it's closer. He's starting to get his momentum back, but I ended up taking it in like 5 rounds. So I take the fourth game, and then the fifth game, I think I took the first round, but or something like that. I took one of the rounds, and then he won the other three, and then that was it. So Chief Flash still a Virtual Fighter champion. He's our 2021 Summer Jam champion. Um, but I'm still very happy with second place, and I know I still have room to grow, and I definitely will. It's especially going to happen when I plan some trips to New York and possibly the Philadelphia area to play some more offline sets with these guys, because I definitely want to play against Harpooner and Hayato and Creaky Axe and everyone else in the New York scene, and then I want to hit up with Hubs and Kilgore the Fish again in like Philly, or even if we met halfway in Allentown or something like that. But yeah, like very satisfied. I'm really surprised I didn't get emotional at the event, because I was actually feeling like I was feeling the love from everybody. They were like talking me up at how well I've played that day, and just how far I've come since they've seen me play online. And it didn't really hit me until that evening before I went to bed. Like, I was starting to get a little emotional, but it was really cool to see them, show me that kind of respect, because that's huge. That's the thing I want the most in this community. I want connections with other people, and this is my favorite game, bar none. This is my favorite fighting game, easily. So I'm glad that there are other people that play this game with the same passion that I do, especially more passion. Like, Harpooner and Fight Club Hubs, they've both been playing this game for decades, and they're a big reason why I made the trip out here, because I knew they were going to be here, and I wanted to play against them in a real capacity. So it's been really cool to meet a lot of the people here, especially like there are other people I didn't mention. Jackal, dude is a giant to me. He's got like a foot on me in height, but super friendly guy, awesome guy to hang out with. I'm really happy at his progression too, because I think he's also relatively new to Virtual Fighter, and he was in the top 8. I think he ended up getting it to. I think he ended up going into the top 6 with Lei Fei, and he's been growing. I played him online since like Ultimate Showdown came out. Every time I ran into him, he was doing something new. He was being like a safer player. Like, at first he was just kind of going all out with Lei Fei, just doing the Lei Fei stuff. But he started to learn Virtual Fighter more, and every time I see him, he's like better and better. So it's awesome that I got to meet him as well, because he's an awesome dude. Hoodless is awesome. He was very cool, very friendly. Harpooner and Hubs, obviously. Chief Flash. Um, these bugs are bothering me. Like, I'm really not. I'm not in the mood to deal with these bugs right now. But Beat Boy Dragon was friendly. RTS Rune was very friendly. Creaky Axe, I haven't interacted with him much, but he's a nice guy. He's cool. Um, Virtual Kazama's awesome. He's a great guy. I'm glad he came out to this, and it was good to play him in a few sets. Kilgore the Fish, obviously awesome guy too. I want to play some more games against him eventually. Um, Everyone was cool today. Like everyone was cool in this event. I can't remember who else. I'm trying to think of who else might have been somebody I played with or saw play, but um, yeah, I'm very pleased with how this event went, and I'm so happy that everybody was cool. Everybody. The worst part about this whole thing was the room we were playing in. It was super hot in that room. Like they had air running, but I don't think it was running in every part of the room. I think in our corner of the room the vents weren't working too well. But we didn't have like any cool air. I actually changed my shirt in between the pools and the top eight. Like I went out to one of the vendors and bought a shirt. Um, I won't show it here, but you'll see it in the photos of my like of when they took the top three, top eight photos and stuff like that. I'm wearing the new shirt. Um, the black shirt that I wore was just not. I mean, the black isn't going to make a difference here, but because there's no sunlight in the room, but so the black isn't going to make a difference. But it wasn't comfortable in that room. But other than that, it was a blast. I would absolutely love to do it again. If there is a summer jam next year with Virtual Fighter, I'm definitely going to go there. Um, whether I get a hotel room again or not, it's another thing. But super awesome. I'm very happy with the experience. I'm so happy that I was welcomed into this community just like I've been. Everybody here has been awesome, and I couldn't ask for anything better, honestly. Like I'm gonna keep playing. I'm gonna try to keep getting better, and I I I don't know what else to say. I'm just so happy. I'm so happy that I got to meet everybody and play Virtual Fighter. This has been an awesome weekend, and I can't wait to do it again, honestly. So with all that said, when they post the video of the matches that they recorded, I will do a reaction to the matches that I'm in. Um, I'll hopefully get that up around the time that they upload their stuff. I think they're gonna upload everything around Monday or something like that. So everything will probably be live by Monday night. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope to see you guys if you guys ever come out to play some Virtual Fighter in these events, like these offline events. I'd love to meet you guys and play against you. And this has all been great, honestly. I can't wait till the next time I can do this. So thanks for watching, and thanks for letting me kind of go over my experience with Summer Jam. I can't wait to do it again.